Boca Raton, the second largest city in Palm Beach County, is a community where history and innovation come together. Influenced by the notable architect Addison Mizner, Boca Raton was built around an elegant Mediterranean revival style that later grew into a vibrant city full of rich art and culture. Known as the city for all seasons, Boca Raton has played a major role in making the Palm Beaches America's first resort destination. Joining me now is Susan Gillis with the Schmidt Boca Raton History Museum, and she's here to tell us how Boca Raton is part of why the Palm Beaches are America's first resort destination. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have you here.
So, of course, there are many things we could talk about when it comes to Boca Raton, but we have to start with Boca Raton, the name. Now, I know Boca means mouth, and I know Raton means rat, but is it mouth of the rat? Rat's mouth? Explain it for me, Susan.
Very good question. And that's sort of the legend. But the truth is that we know from historical research that Boca was an inlet. Ratones was a place of hidden rocks, according to old nautical dictionaries from hundreds of years ago. But here's the punchline. The original Boca Ratones wasn't at our Boca Raton at all. It was located on Biscayne Bay, basically where Miami Beach is. And somehow in the early 19th century, it started being associated with our Lake Boca Raton, our inlet. And the more northerly name stuck, the more southerly designation disappeared. We're stuck with the name. Our story really begins in the late 19th century with the coming of Mr. Flagler's Railway. And so like much of Palm Beach County, 1895-96 is when our first little settlement grew up at Boca Raton, and Boca was a little tiny hick farming town, really until the 1920s when it was discovered by Mr. Addison Mizner.
Now, Susan, we, of course, cannot come to Boca Raton or talk about Boca Raton without talking about this lovely gentleman right here, Mr. Addison Mizner.
Yes.
Tell us about him.
Addison really put little Boca Raton on the map. He didn't invent or create, in a way he discovered her. By the mid-20s, he had already reinvented Palm Beach with his beautiful Palm Beach style. He was the architect to the rich and famous in Palm Beach. But he wanted to get into the real estate development business. That was a favorite hobby of the time. So with his brother and a lot of very wealthy backers, most of whom were Palm Beachers, he invented the Mizner Development Corporation, and their project was called Boca Raton. He came to Boca to create the world's greatest resort community, not just resort hotel. A place with, of course, mansions, housing for regular people, golf courses, an airport, a very fine hotel, as well as an Olympic-sized stadium. It was a very grand project, over the top, wonderful idea, which the local citizens were just totally enamored of. A lot of things Mr. Mizner planned never made it off paper, but a number did as well. And it was such a glorious dream, we still name everything after him.
Think of an evening in June, under a crystal-like moon. Think of an old Spanish tune, you're in Avalon town.
It's quite an interesting story, and 27 things were really bad, and that's when Mizner Development Corporation went bankrupt. But one of the original investors, Mr. Geist, Clarence Geist, was really the town savior. He purchased the assets of Mizner Development for $72,000, and they were worth millions, but nobody wanted them in 1927. The principal asset was indeed the Cloister Inn, which today is the Boca Raton, the former Boca Raton Resort and Club. Mr. Geist hires architect Schultz and Weaver, who did the breakers, to more than triple the size of the hotel. And it opened as the Boca Raton Club in 1930. And it became the main economic engine of the town throughout the 30s. Palm Beach, Schmalm Beach, you know? I mean, let's make Boca Raton the world's new social capital. That's what the advertisements actually said, not that old Palm Beach, you know. He really wanted to do his own thing and draw people here and be a real competition to Palm Beach.
Now, Susan, of course, we talk about the Palm Beach as being America's first resort destination, but this area is not all about fun and sun and relaxation. It's also about farming and agriculture. Even to this day, we have oranges and strawberries and all kinds of other things that we farm. But let's talk about back in the day, what was farming like?
Well, yes, it's hard to believe that Boca Raton was originally a tiny farming town. South Florida was considered to be south of the frost line, which for the most part it is. And we had people come from North Florida, from Vermont, Michigan, New York, North Carolina, Scotland to farm here. The big cash crop in the early days was pineapples. Pines, they called them. But tomatoes, everybody in South Florida grew tomatoes back in the day. Eggplants, onions, peppers, just the list goes on. And they tried many crops. They tried growing cotton. They tried growing rice. The farmers tried everything. It was quite an experiment. Our early town was home to really three communities. A white community centered along Palmetto Park Road primarily, a Japanese community called Yamato, and an African American community known as Pearl City, which still exists. It's south of Glades between Dixie and Federal Highway. It's just a few blocks, but it is a historic district today. As early as 1912, we had snowbirds residing here. There weren't a lot of amenities in Boca Raton then. We had a magnificent climate during the winter. We had beautiful wide open beaches. We had great fishing, I always hear. In 1915, our Vermont pioneer, Mr. Gates, who was a real estate genius, quite frankly, built a series of cottages on Palmetto Park Road, which is our main east-west drag. Tourist cottages, little wooden buildings, and each one was named for a different state. And so that represented the state of origin of the original tenants.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for being with us and sharing with us how Boca Raton played a major role in making the Palm Beaches America's first resort destination.
Well, Caitlin, I'm so glad you could come today, and I want everybody to know that the exhibit galleries don't stop with just the Pioneer Room and the Meisner era. We have a very interesting gallery on Boca Raton during World War II. It was the home of a huge Boca Raton Army airfield, which was a top secret radar training base. We also have a wonderful timeline that goes all the way to the present.
Oh, I love it.
So whatever era you're interested in Boca Raton's past, you can learn about it here at the Schmidt Boca Raton History Museum.